All right, Mr. Carlos Moore, welcome to your first one-on-one with Hype Plus. How are you feeling today in the city of Atlanta? It's a little drizzly, but how are you doing?
Man, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were able to see your commentary along the way with the Nolan Wells case, and it was refreshing to hear from somebody that not only looked like us, but also really had a background to speak on the things that people are commenting on themselves. So that was awesome to hear, give you a background as a judge of over 6 years. So for me, it's like, this is exciting. We get some real perspective and not just speculation. First and foremost, let's get into your story. Born and raised in Mississippi. What part of Mississippi?
I was born in Pascagoula, Mississippi, along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I was raised in Moss Point.
Awesome. Was that your family was always there, or was that just something that somebody moved to? Then you were born. How long have your family been out there?
That's my mother's side of the family. She's been on my mother was raised in Moss Point as well. Mm-hmm. My father is from around Brookhaven, Mississippi, in Lincoln County, Boca Chica. So he had moved down there to take a job at Ingalls, which was the largest employer in Mississippi.
Wow.
And he met my mother. And of course, I was raised there in Moss Point.
Now, we've always heard bad raps that Mississippi gets around race relations. Going to your childhood, did you kind of experience that? Did you notice certain things? How quickly did you kind of notice that race kind of played a part to the dynamics of Mississippi or elsewhere?
Now, Moss Point was one of the only cities on the Gulf Coast that was majority black. Mm-hmm. So the majority of my upbringing, I was around us from elementary school on up. I had black principals, black teachers for the majority of the time, same in junior high and high school. So I saw a lot of successful black people throughout the school system. I really didn't know much about racism besides my mother working. She worked for the Jackson County Port Authority, and she was only black in the executive offices. So I heard about racism through her lens, her coming home, talking about how she may have been mistreated or certain things that may have occurred to her, or may have occurred or happened to her. And some could have assumed it was because of her race.
Mm. Now, as a child, did you ever get stories or hesitations of being around all white spaces? Did you get early warnings? Were those conversations in your home back then?
I knew that from hearing my mother talk about her situation on the job, I knew that you had to be twice as good to get ahead. And she was looked over for several promotions, but she always advocated for herself, and she eventually did rise from the receptionist to a port commissioner. So I get a lot of my ambition and a lot of my tenacity from my mother. We refused to be denied, and I've always was raised to believe by both her and my father to believe that I was just as good as anyone else. I was no worse and no better. I was equal, and that's the viewpoint for which I have lived my majority of my life, all of my life, demanding equality and equity.
Wow. The path of becoming a black judge in Mississippi, did it come with obstacles? Oh, well, I guess I assume it would, but what did those obstacles look like?
First of all, I had to finish high school. I'm a first generation college graduate, as well as law school graduate. And so first lawyer in my family on either side. And so I had to first become a lawyer and never really thought about becoming a judge. I know when I finished law school, I think some people had that ambition for me or that dream for me that I would become a judge, but that was not one of my dreams. I just wanted to be the best lawyer I could be and make a difference in that vein. And after several years of practice, I started practicing in 2002. I had my first opportunity in 2017. So nearly after 15 years of practice, I had my first opportunity to be a judge, and I took it. One of my friends became the mayor of Clarksdale, and he asked me if I would consider taking one of the two judgeships there, and I told him yes, and I got confirmed by the city council there, and the rest is history. And so I did that from 2017 to 2024, the first black judge in that city, and that was surprising to me because that city is majority black. It's 85% black, so you would have thought by 2017 I would have been the first.
Yeah.
But that was a historic day, and I made up in my mind that I would try to make a difference on the bench from my very first day on the bench. And my first order of business was removing the state flag that then bore the Confederate emblem from the courtroom. I had the bailiff to take it out of my courtroom, first order of business, and it never came back during my entire tenure.
Wow. I definitely want to make sure we expound more on your career as a judge.
Okay.
But I also want to look at law. There's someone who put you into the law, who told you, Was somebody, was it an uncle? Like, what made you go to the direction of law? Because I'm generalizing, but a lot of times black people's relationship with the law in general, there's friction there, the trust game. Like, but what made you feel like I'm going to go that route?
I think it was just a natural inclination. I grew up watching a lot of Perry Mason, Matlock, L.A. Law, if you remember that. So I was always drawn into those kind of shows. And from a child, I was always told I was pretty intelligent, so I started believing it. And I think most black parents, you either, if you had any kind of IQ, they were going to encourage you to either be a doctor or a lawyer. And my parents, believe it or not, were very religious. And so they discouraged me from being a lawyer. And so I changed. I told them at 5 or 6 I want to be a lawyer. They discouraged me and told me lawyers had to lie, that I should probably go be a doctor. And so trying to please them, I set my sight on becoming a physician. If you read my high school yearbook, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. Wow. But my natural proclivity from earlier 5 or 6 is what I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I tried to live that dream. But by my junior year of college, I decided I would take the LSAT instead of the MCAT. And the rest is history. As they say, I took the LSAT, got into 4 law schools I applied to, and finished at Florida State Law School.
Wow. Now, going back into you gave us the path of how you became a judge. You know, I'm sure there's a lot more that came with it. Immediate order of business was remove the flag due to his racial tendencies. I did, of course, you know, from research, we know that the KKK was prevalent at times in Mississippi. Did you ever have any encounters with them while you were on the bench in terms of cases that were crossing those paths?
I wouldn't say that I had dealings with the KKK from any of the rulings I made from the bench, but I would say that I did receive 3 death threats as a result of moving the state flag from my courtroom. So people were so in love with the flag, that wore the Confederate emblem, that they thought enough of that flag to send death threats via social media, online.
Do you have you gotten death threats before then, or was that just the first time you ever?
In 2016, before I went on the bench, I had filed a lawsuit against the governor in relation to the state flag, trying to have it declared unconstitutional. And I received 5 death threats in relation to that lawsuit against the governor about removing the state flag through the judicial system.
Seeing that happen, what was your reaction? Did you kind of be like, it's just conversations, just talk, or did you really kind of have to position yourself to move a lot smarter or safe?
I did. I had to position myself and try to protect not only myself, but my family and my staff. And so I hired round-the-clock security to protect myself and my staff at the office. And I also had security position at my home to take care of my family, protect us during the trying period. It was a very stressful time.
Because as I imagine, a judge is a respected figure, I think, in our society, because, you know, there's a lot of power that sits at your in front of you. Did you ever deal with like racism of like citizens, private citizens, because you were a black judge? Did you ever experience that as well? Like when they weren't respecting your role because you were a black man?
Online, people were free to give their opinions about me, and you either loved me or hated me. And a lot of times, if you read the comments, it seemed that the minorities loved me, but some of the others, people in the majority, some of the white people, they did not like me. Now, there were plenty of white people that did like me, but there were certain that you would probably consider racist that were not ashamed to say that they were racist and call me everything beside a child of God.
Yeah. Again, we were able to kind of see or appreciate the context and the details that you were given around the Nolan Wells case, the perspective. I have to ask you because, you know, I don't talk to black judges often. Are black people kind of targeted? Do you feel the system kind of like targets us in a way? And I use that lightly, but also given like who were you seeing come through that courtroom? Did it ever feel like, okay, this is like a pattern here?
I did feel that, and I still feel that minority populations, black and brown populations, are heavily policed, and we are policed to a greater extent than the white communities or the majority communities. In each town that I was on the bench, in both Clarksdale and Grenada, the blacks were the majority. So I guess Clarksdale would have been 85% black, and Grenada would have been about 51 to 52% black. But the lion's share, I'm saying 90% or more of the people that appeared before me were black in each jurisdiction. So that is out of proportion, especially in Grenada. When if you only had 51%, I should have seen half and half, black and white, come in before me, but that was not the case. So I do know that black young people do not do anything to such an extent that the whites are not doing. If the black young people are doing recreational drugs or experiment with drugs, they're doing the same thing in the white community. But those communities are not heavily policed, and so they're not getting the tickets, so they're not getting arrested and coming before the judges. And so I saw mostly blacks in both jurisdictions.
Yeah. Did it bother you, or did you ever feel conflicted, or did you feel good that at least you're the one in the position to have that level of perspective that others may not have?
It did bother me in one sense, but one thing I created that was available to anyone that appeared before me was the Do Better ASAP program. It was an alternative sentencing accountability program where I gave youthful first-time nonviolent offenders a second chance. And I was creative in sentencing. In my sentencing, I would not just sentence them to jail or a fine. If they met my parameters, they kept a clean record. If they were making C's, I may make them make a B or A on the next 9 weeks and bring back the report card. If they had not received their GED, I may require them to receive the GED or get admitted to a trade school or college or community college or whatever it may be. And if they did that, they not only improved their station in life, but they kept a clean record. So I tried to think outside the box, and I tried to really make a difference and be impactful on the bench. And I also wanted to use my sphere of influence to help train other judges to do the same thing. And so Walmart caught on to what I was doing, their foundation, and they donated $1 million towards training other judges across the country to do the same thing.
And that's where I was able to pick up through research and getting prepared for the interview, but even covering you. But your exit out of that position, it didn't seem like it seemed fair, or I was kind of not confused, but I'd love to hear it from you. Like, can we expound on like that, like the exit? Like, why did you exit from that seat as a judge in Mississippi?
Yeah, a lot of people know that I moved to Atlanta in 23, bought my place in October 23, got married to a young lady here in January of 24, and have been here full time since. But in 25, even after I had resigned from my positions as a judge in Clarksdale and Grenada to move here after falling in love with the young lady, I was permanently banned from the bench by the Mississippi Supreme Court. And that was even after I resigned. I was investigated for comments that I made while I was president of the National Bar Association, I believe in the 21-22 bar year. And as a sitting president and as a sitting judge, I stated after the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict that if people still thought that we had a colorblind justice system, they refused to accept the ugly truth. Because I still to this day believe that if the roles had been reversed, Kyle Rittenhouse had been black and killed some white individuals, he would not have walked free. And that's just my belief, and I'm entitled to it. And I will believe that until the day I die. With all of my years of experience, nearly a quarter of a century of experience into the legal system and the judicial system now, I still feel that it's not a colorblind. Lady Justice is not blind. She sees quite clearly color. And so I made that comment on one or more of my social media pages, and the Judicial Commission investigated me for it. And they banned me for that comment, as well as the comment I made on the Kelly Clarkson show when I went there. Kelly Clarkson called me a rad human and thought it was so good that I was doing alternative sentencing. But the Supreme Court said some statements that I made on that show was offensive or improper, and that I deserve to be banned for life.
At that point, it sounds like you were targeted. Just the fact that people make comments on, I wonder like who was watching that, when you put that up there, or did it circulate enough? And then someone like tipped off the other people, and then you're on the Kelly Clarkson. Why are you watching me on Kelly Clarkson's show if you're not really liking me? So I'm just wondering, like, that seemed like a kind of a witch hunt to.
And actually, the way that happened, they really, the initial discipline was because of the Kyle Rittenhouse. Someone complained, I guess a citizen or some person off the internet complained about my comment about Kyle Rittenhouse, and they started investigating me for that. And as part of my defense, I voluntarily showed them what I had said on the Kelly Clarkson show, and they turned around and used that against me as another reason to punish me. And I know of no one that has ever been banned for life from being a judge. There's been judges that have done some egregious things. Right. I mean, DUIs. There's been some judges that left the bench right there in open court and fought litigants and were not banned. They may have received a 90-day suspension, but they were not banned for life. So we do believe that the sentence was extraordinary, to say the least.
Were there any black judges after? I mean, were there any other black judges? Were they already existing during this time, or were you kind of like the only one?
There are other black judges
Okay.
across Mississippi.
Well, I think in your county or what you were presiding over.
In Grenada, in the municipal courts of Grenada, I was the only black judge. And then there was one other black judge that was appointed on the same day I was appointed. They remained in Clarksdale.
When you look back at all the work that you were doing, did you feel like a sense of betrayal from your own ecosystem?
I didn't feel betrayed by the systems that appointed me. Both Clarksdale and Grenada would have a love for me to stay on the bench. And they never asked me to resign or anything. In fact, I was reappointed. I served 4 years and I was reappointed for another 4-year term in Clarksdale. And so I didn't feel betrayed by them, but I did believe that I was targeted potentially by the Supreme Court. This decision was not a unanimous decision. It was split along racial lines, it seemed. The only black person on the bench on the Supreme Court said I had done nothing wrong. He gave a long, resounding dissent and said I had done nothing wrong. I exercised my constitutional right, First Amendment right to free speech. But the others thought that I had done wrong and deserved to be banned for life. So you have to wonder, was there any other reason besides race that they came up with two different opinions?
Yeah. Well, one perspective is if you're a black man, you're going to have empathy for black, I don't want to say people that break the law. And you're giving these alternative routes where they're not being thrown in jail. Because is it true that some of these prisons are privately owned, like institutions where they can make money off these?
Some of the prisons in Mississippi are privately owned. Most of the jails are county owned. So I had authority to put people in the county jail for up to a year.
Yeah. So I assume that locking people up is good business, is big business.
Some of the localities, they make money off of the fines and some of the things.
So if you're in there, I don't want to say you was disrupting that, but I just would say, like, if you're minimizing that or a part of that, I would imagine they would shut that down because the money's about to get messed with.
Yeah, some of the county jails, even though they were owned by the county, they could have been managed by private companies, and so it could have been getting into their pocket. I never thought about it from that vein, but that's.
Listen, every time I go to the court, that's all they want. It's always payment. Pay your fine, like traffic violations, always been like payment. So I've always looked at it from a level of, it was a way to it's a business, make some money. Now moving forward, I definitely want to get into the Nolan Wells case. July 4th, as we all know, this gentleman would go on a boat with what people call friends, but we can discuss even that term. And he would end up disappearing from his friend group and from other people on the island, it seems. The friends will return. Keys will be missing. Things will not line up. 2 days later, he's found dead, washed ashore. Going to the conversation of friends, a lot of people are questioning, were these his friends? How do you feel about that? Are these his friends? Do you leave your friend with no phone and possibly even intoxicated? I say possibly because we have not got a toxicology report back yet. Let's talk about friends. Are these his friends?
I would call them associates. He may have considered them his friends, but based on their actions, they leave a lot to be desired. And my question is, so with friends like his, who would need enemies? Yeah,
I think I've heard you say that because I think the issue on my end about it is the fact that if you know I was allegedly drinking, and I may not be in my right mind, according to their reports, they say, hey, let's go with that. Let's play along with that. Why would you leave me in a vulnerable position? And then in my research, and please let me know if I'm wrong, this maritime law thing, no one's really like talking about that because that's a BUI, that's drinking underage. And then I believe the captain of the boat is supposed to be responsible, ideally, for whoever he brings out there. So any perspective around that, is that an accurate breakdown of like, there's things that are like negligent that are already happening?
Yes, I went live and I told several crimes that had potentially been committed that were low-hanging fruit that the local law enforcement could arrest individuals for, including underage drinking, boating while intoxicated, that type of thing. And and civilly, the captain could be held liable for certain things that he allowed to go on his boat.
Yeah.
And he was responsible for everyone that was on that boat, on his boat. And so a lot of things just don't add up. You don't leave friends who may be intoxicated or whatever. Teenagers, they are going to do certain things. They're going to be drinking on a holiday normally. And so if you thought he may have had a little too much to drink, you definitely want to leave him alone without his cell phone. He needs to have at least a way to get back in touch with people in society. And if he was going to stay with a young lady, normally you need your phone to get whatever information you need from her.
Get that number, get that social media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think I was a little bit, I think, because a lot of people are already kind of saying friends that did it or position that their friends are part of it. But I think they lost in the court of friendship, right? Meaning like, if I go with you, we're going to come back together. I'm going to make sure you good. I don't see how it would feel sensible enough to leave somebody in that vulnerable state unless you didn't really care totally about them, or on a personal level. If me and you went out when we was boys, if I got your phone, I'm not gonna leave you. Well, I'm not gonna leave you, but I would probably call. Hey, I got Nolan's phone. This is what's going on. This is the last place I seen him immediately. And so I think it just became a lot of suspicious activity, and this wasn't things that friends would normally do. Now, there was a warning that one of his black friends, I don't have the gentleman's name, it wasn't Javon, it was another friend that told him, yo, Nolan, be safe, as they were going to Horn Island or just before that. Why do you think the black friend said that? Was it because Horn Island's about to be majority all white people and is drinking? How would you interpret that if he was saying be safe?
I think in the back of our minds, we always know where we are. We know that we're in Mississippi. Having grown up there, I can remember being a professional, and I had a black friend that was a general surgeon, and both of us got invited out to somebody's camping ground in the middle of the woods at nighttime. And so we both knew we had to have each other's back. We're going to be the only two blacks out there in the middle of the woods with these so-called professionals.
Going.
Yeah. So it was understood that we had to have each other's back. And so Bowdoin, if you're going to be one of the few minorities out there, there's safety in having more than just one. And so you normally say, I got your back, or be careful, whatever. That's just understood.
And that's how I interpreted it, as if like he knew how the vibe could be out there, knew that he would probably be one of the only few. Because I believe there were, two other, I don't know how many black people, not that many though from the video, but there was like maybe a couple more. So to hear that, I definitely think that it was like, yo, like, just be on, keep your head on a swivel. Don't get too lax. Just make sure you know what's going on, but have a good time. Now moving on, a lot of people are pointing fingers at their friends. From your professional opinion, what makes them look guilty?
I wouldn't say it makes them look guilty, but it definitely makes them look suspicious. The friends did not act as friends normally do. First of all, if you leave your friend back, you're going to know exactly who they stayed with. And from the very beginning, it has been conflicting information. The young lady allegedly was named Katie, and she says allegedly that Nolan told her that he was going back with the friends he came with. And those friends are saying that he stayed back with Katie. So one of those two cannot be the truth. And what we do know is that Katie did not lawyer up initially. I don't think she still has lawyered up, but we were told that the so-called friends lawyered up initially. They deactivated their social media, maybe scrubbed some of their social media initially. That's very suspicious. Why would you do that if no foul play was expected or had occurred? Because people drown every year. And if you're just a witness to someone drowning, there's no need to be so afraid or
so fidgety.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think you did mention that in your video, or a couple of your videos, you mentioned that. Now I have to also ask, like, they recently launched a donation page to try to push back defamations or alleged, claims. Does that look a little weird too? Because or is that just, kind of connect the dots in that way?
To me, as the young people say, they're playing in our faces. I mean, this is ridiculous for them to be raising funds for some alleged lawsuit. I saw that an attorney by the name of Russell Latino said that he would do it pro bono. He would represent the boys pro bono if they had been defamed. And so why do you need money? he's gone and made that public record. He's not charging anything. So they are just trying to make money, professional grifters, I guess, off of a tragedy. I happened to attend the funeral of Nolan Wells. I didn't know Nolan Wells in life, but I came to know him through his death. I knew a lot of the Wells and Wansley family members, having grown up there in Mississippi. So I went to the funeral, but I looked around for those so-called friends, and they were not found at the funeral. And so how could you call yourself someone's friend, a best friend, and not attend their funeral? I don't care what people are saying online. I don't care what your parents say, your grandmother say. You couldn't get me not to attend my best friend's funeral for any reason. I would be there under any circumstance.
I think that would have definitely helped some of the blowback they feeling if they pulled up and was standing with moms, or at least had that conversation and that would have definitely, at least I'm thinking that people would have been like, okay, I don't know what I could say really now that they're present, they're showing up. I did want to throw this question at you. We talked about the underage drinking. Why and can they do anything about that now, given that so much time has went by? Can't do a breathalyzer, but why have they not been arrested, or why weren't they arrested from your perspective?
That's a good question. That's not normally how it's done. You utilize the law to your advantage. Any law that you see that someone may have broken, you hold them accountable and you arrest them, and they start talking about the greater crime. And so people that may have been underage drinking, boating while intoxicated, the adults that may have contributed to the delinquency of a minor, someone over 21 or older had to go buy the alcohol. So they contributed to the delinquency of a minor. So they hadn't been arrested at all. There are too many people that knows things. And if you're just giving people carte blanche freedom and not putting the pressure on them, no one is going to say anything. But when you start applying pressure, that's when pipes begin to burst.
Yeah. And that made a lot of sense to me strategically, because it could kind of lead to one thing, especially with the drinking. To me, is a lot of red flag, because people make all kind of dumb decisions, whether it was a victim or someone that was an attacker. They were fighting out there. I'm sure that was alcohol influence, Now, a lot of things were going on as this unfolded, a lot of suspicious activity. And I'm going to kind of highlight a couple of them for you. The first was, his phone and keys were not on his person. How did you feel about that particular information when you got that?
That in of itself, the phone, if you're out boating and the water was so high, you normally would have your phone on a dry location. So you would have left it in the interior of the boat or something. But the suspicious thing would come when if he allegedly told them he was going to go stay on the island with a young lady, he would have retrieved his phone. For certain you don't have it on you. Yeah. And so that's one of the first things you're going to do.
I would think I would give you the phone. Hey, here's your phone.
He would have voluntarily, when it retrieved, or his friends would have reminded him of taking it to him before they got on the boat and left the island. They would have seen it. And definitely if they just happened to forget to give it to him, as soon as they got back to land, they would have taken it to his mother or his father and said.
Because were they not, he was supposed to be staying at one of their houses, right? Like a sleepover?
He did the night before, allegedly, yes.
So I think to me that was a question. Okay, if he's not gonna go back with y'all, how does he get back to the house? Like if y'all was his ride, unless somebody else was supposed to be out there, that's where it gets a little blank for me.
Correct. Because his car was still at the friend's house. Yeah.
Right. Another thing that kind of came up, maybe that's considered suspicious, that they didn't let his family know, particularly his mother, know till like 11 p.m. or something like that.
Yes.
That he was missing.
And I didn't understand that either, because if you believe the stepmom, they left Horn Island around 4:30. And so I don't know why.
I think that was the real mom. I think.
Now the judge is a stepmom.
She was out there too?
She didn't go out there. The real mom went out there, but someone released a statement on Facebook, and I believe that was Ashley Cole, that recounted what I believe Warren had told her, Warren Hudson, that they left the island around 4:30. And so there's a lot of hours that would have passed between 4:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. So I don't know why they would have waited till 11 p.m. to call Miss Wansley.
Yeah, I think that was something that stood out for me, because it kind of helped support something possibly happening, things moving, things being deleted, if you're kind of getting all that time, that time we don't know what's happening. Now, I also will point out another thing that was suspicious is the inconsistencies in their storylines when it first came out, like the timeline. I will kind of give this grace, but Warren's real mother said that they left around 5. There was a DM message that we had covered. And then his stepmother said around 3:30 4:30 is when they left. But I was noticing a lot of inconsistency in times. Were there other things that time-wise that didn't make sense for you?
Yeah, I don't see why the stepmother and the real mother would have different timelines. What did Warren tell them? The truth never changes. And so he should have told them both the same thing. And so that tells me that if they are giving inconsistent statements, that's in line with what his statement is different from Katie's. So it's too many inconsistent statements. And that's how you know somebody's not telling the truth. And now we can't determine who's lying, but somebody's lying out of the group, because all of that cannot be the truth. Somebody has to be inaccurate. So
and that's from your professional background of knowing
correct
that when it's inconsistencies, there's behind that is something else going on.
Yes. And so I had to make decisions in real time as a judge. I would sit there and listen to the evidence from both sides, and then I can make a ruling based on what's more believable than not. What was proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting, because some of this stuff has been like interesting, coincidence, suspicious. It's a lot to take in sometimes. But his body was found in the same area, part of the island where, where he was docked at, or was ideally last seen, I guess. How do you feel about that? Is that coincidence? Is it, because I thought once your body hits the water, it's supposed to, you get moved, or I don't know.
I'm no boating expert, but I find it suspicious that when the island was searched on the day before, his body was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And then to find it in the place where he was last known to be seen, if that's true, on Monday, 2 days later, that's very suspicious. Yeah. Was that body, did it just wash up, or was it planted there that morning?
Yeah. Did you just see the Cajun Navy's report that they put out?
I did see the report initially.
At least what I gathered that stood out for me was they pointed at there was no proof of the Triton boat taking on water. They don't have any outside of the call. There was no other proof to say that it was taken on water. That's what I got from that report, which I thought was rather interesting. But was there anything out of that report that maybe stood out too?
Yeah, I just found it very suspicious. The whole thing with calling CETO versus calling 911 or calling the Coast Guard if you were sinking, and then the CETO dispatcher asked whoever she was speaking to, did they need Coast Guard? And they said no. And that's not a normal response. If you're sinking and taking on water and about to lose your life potentially, you're going to want somebody very trained and professional that's close by to get there as soon as possible, and as many people as possible.
Yeah. Because it was interesting, the fact that the grandfather then called the captain directly and said, no, we good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now let's talk about the call. This audio call would leak. At first, the majority of us did not catch the background audio. That audio was then stripped, enhanced, or helped so people can hear it. And we hear a conversation that sounds like some foul play is happening. It sounds that way. I think I could say that, right? Mm-hmm. And what was your reaction to hearing the audio recording?
Yeah, when I initially heard the recording, I focused in on the conversation between the dispatcher and whoever the guy was. Mm-hmm. You can clearly hear what they're saying. I did notice initially that there was some faint sounds, a chatter, but I had not been able to decipher what was said. But when it was stripped by audio engineer or enhanced or without the use of AI, you can clearly hear certain things being said. Mm-hmm. And that led me to believe was Nolan actually on that boat.
Yeah, I from a professional perspective, is that audio enough to where arrest could have been made, even off a suspicion of what we were thinking we were hearing? Is that enough?
Coupled with other things, I think it's enough for an arrest warrant to be made at this time. I would feel comfortable knowing all the things that I know. If the law enforcement presented me a certain name or names of people that they wanted to be arrested for certain crimes, and they laid it all out as I've understood it from the publicly disclosed information, I would not have a problem at this point signing arrest warrant or arrest warrants.
And then what happens if we got it wrong? It's just, is there like any repercussions from that person? I mean, what's the risk of just locking somebody up off the conditions that you just mentioned?
It happens all the time. I mean, there's no real risk. I mean,
I got detained for tent.
for tent.
For tent.
Yeah. And so they do it to.
They stopped me for tent, and then I got put in cuffs.
Yeah, it's no repercussions to the judge or the prosecutor. The law enforcement, they do their job and they do the best they can. The judge would have found probable cause to sign the arrest warrant. Judges have judicial immunity, so you can't be sued or successfully for signing an arrest warrant. So there's no risk to the judge. Most prosecutors have prosecutorial immunity. So I mean, they do it all the time. Law enforcement has qualified immunity, and so what we do know is, had the roles been reversed, the black guys that came back to land would have probably been arrested within 24 hours.
Of course. You know, one thing that you kind of led with that I think a lot of people heard or felt and appreciated was you calling out how things were not moving according to how they normally would, with a potential cover up from a local law enforcement level. Don't know if you can say that, but ideally, do you think a cover up was taking place at some point along the way?
I believe there are a lot of suspicious things that have occurred in this case from the very beginning. Since Nolan went missing, Ashley Cole, by her own admission, deactivated her Facebook account or her social media accounts. She says it was because of she wanted to protect her young children, but who was threatening? We
didn't even know you, I think, at that point in the story.
Yeah. So on July the 4th, no one had in mind about threatening her children. So why would you assume that they would have been threatened just because someone allegedly drowned on Horn Island? That's not a safe assumption. It had to be something more to it. And for those boys to lawyer up, they have a right to lawyer up. But as I told someone, if my family member came to me about something that happened on Horn Island and recounted it to me, as a lawyer, a trained lawyer, I'm going to listen to the facts. I'm not going to advise them to lawyer up if I don't think they committed a crime. You only advise someone to lawyer up if they've potentially committed a crime. If you just was a witness to somebody drowning, you can be a witness and testify and recount that freely with no risk of going to prison. So that tells me that something may have gone awry there that could have had some criminal culpability for one or more persons for them, if it's true that those boys lawyered up on July the 4th, July the 5th. And then for the boys to eat together, be seen together on July the 5th, eating breakfast at a restaurant instead of being out there with people searching for their friend or best friend, that's not normal circumstances. I mean, if any of my boys were missing and I was one of the last ones to be seen with them, I'm going to be out there with the family trying to show them where we were hanging out or where we were and trying to help find them. I'm not going to be having breakfast at IHOP or Waffle House or anywhere else for that matter.
I wonder how much is that of them being guilty of something or just showing their true colors of maybe how they felt about him. You know?
I don't understand. I mean, instead of going to the funeral, I believe Warren was talking to Officer Tatum on the day of the funeral, being interviewed, and he allegedly was still calling him his best friend. So I don't see how you could not be concerned about your best friend and not out there trying to find him. And I also don't understand why the father said he couldn't find a boat the night of. He says that he didn't have friends with boats, but if your son had friends with boats, they should have gone back out that same night at midnight and started searching for the guy. They didn't offer the boats that night. I'm understanding that they were saying the boat at 3 a.m.
That kind of broke me. Yeah. They kind of hurt a little bit to be like, I would have went out, but I ain't got no friends with boats.
Correct. And so, but you know, your son had friends with boats because he was out there. That's how he got out there on a boat. So
but dad already was not rocking with him based off how he had to get the keys and all that. He said that in multiple interviews. Once you kind of show me that, you know, you can't be trusted, you seem like you're lying, then that's hands off for me.
Yeah.
So the audio call would go out. It did seem like the things were saying that no Nolan, is he dead? There was other things people heard. What did you hear from your ears on the audio?
I'm still not certain what I heard. I do believe there may have been, oh my God, is he dead? Nolan, and I believe someone may have called Bart's name out at one point.
Definitely said.
And so all of that is it's very alarming to say the least. But I believe that potentially places if they called out Nolan's name, that potentially places him on the boat. And you couple that with the audio from between the conversation between the dispatcher and whoever was talking to the dispatcher, she asked specifically how many people were on the boat that was alive. And I believe the person said around 7-ish. Is either it's 7 or is it 6 or 7, or is one of them half dead, or you're not sure they're dead or alive or what? But 7-ish is a strange response.
Yeah.
To someone to ask you specifically how many people are alive on the boat.
Where did your imagination go? Can we I don't know if you let me know what we can't legally say, but where did your imagination go when you heard the audio?
I would believe that Nolan was on that boat from the audio, and then the enhanced version as well as the regular version. I still believe, even without it, I would believe that he was on the boat without the enhanced version.
Yeah. And when I first listened to it, my mind went there to add some layers to it. It felt like either he had like a really bad accident or someone had did something to him, and then a boat pulls up. And then that's when the friend's like, oh my God, like Nolan. I always felt that he came up to that boat. And then that's why you got this huge reaction, how I heard the audio.
Okay.
Re-listening to it, I'm not trying to be disruptive because I know people definitely are pointing fingers at his friend group. I also was like, damn, but I heard like, instead of Nolan, I heard like, no way. And then instead of it's dead, I heard like, oh, is he dead? I heard like, it's dead related to the bilge pump. That's how I kind of was able to hear it.
Okay.
When is the last time you heard the audio call?
It's been a few days now. I would love to hear it again in real time.
Yep. We're going to play it for you.
Cito Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you? All right, of course. How far is the work coming up, sir?
No, we do not need that.
All right.
Oh my God!
No, we do not need that.
Oh my God!
Cito Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you? All right, of course. How far is the work coming up, sir?
No, we do not need that.
All right.
Oh my God!
See it? Yeah.
I can hear "Oh my God" clearly and wake the F up.
I heard that.
I can hear that.
And then we know Bart came later. I think it's is he dead or is it's dead? And that's why I asked, with that alone, could they still could those in authority could have at least moved in on it to be like, we need to bring you in, because we got this 20 days after this was recorded, the general public. So I just wondered, did authorities listen to it? Did they listen to it like how we did as general public to say, hold up, what's that in the beginning? Or did they just listen to the basic call like we all did originally?
See, we won't know because the investigation is private at this point. But we do know that now that it's in the public sphere, they have heard it and they still have not made an arrest. And that's very concerning because we know he potentially was on that boat, and certain folks have said that he stayed on the island. They left without him. They left him on the island with Katie. So how did he get on that boat or get in around that boat if it was two boats? So if he was not on their boat, what other boat came up and had him on it where they would have been saying, oh my God, and wake the F up?
Yeah, because I thought it was what's his name, Bart's boat, because he's clearly comes up. He's supposed to give the tow, so I assume that that's where, according to the audio, how it seemed on the audio, that's where Nolan was positioned on that particular boat. But then he has went against that and said that's not the true and everything. Okay. Why do you think no one has been at least apprehended under suspicion? At least everyone's getting interviews, but no one's really.
Yeah, I just think it's because in Mississippi, a lot of the times race plays a factor, and then a lot of times your socioeconomic status based on who you are, your parents are. And we have some very prominent people, at least appearance-wise. I believe there may be a dentist and an emergency room doctor, a pain doctor, a judge. And so the parents of some of these boys that were last seen with Nolan, his alleged friends, are pretty powerful or influential relatively wealthy individuals in that county.
Now, one of the theories that I have in terms of Nolan's passing, I assume that he might have been pushed off of a boat. That feels like that can be able to fill in the gap that no one's seen what happened, because he was like out on the water. He wasn't on the shore where everybody was at, and he was pushed off the boat. How is that possible to prove in that case that someone was pushed off a boat? Is it possible?
You would need witness testimony. Someone would have to testify that they saw someone push them off. And that's why I've always had this question. If he drowned, who saw him get into the water? How did he get into the water? Even the pathologist that did the second autopsy says the way he got into the water is going to be very important. Did he voluntarily get in there? Was he forced against his will? Was he pushed accidentally? Was he pushed on purpose? All of that will come into play on the cause and manner of death. And so, but someone knows something, and it's going to take someone to tell. Unless there's some video or audio, it's going to take someone's honest recitation of what happened.
Yeah, I was curious about that, right? Because from your professional dealings with different cases, the fact that no one has told anything yet, what does that say about the individuals that aren't telling? Are they like a certain type of mental space? Like what? Like, because that's a lot of pressure. There's money, it's high profile. What does that maybe tell you about a particular individual who can keep quiet about a crime or alleged crime like that?
What I don't know is the reason they're keeping quiet. Whoever did anything untoward to Nolan or participated, we don't know how powerful they are. We don't know what kind of threats they've made to witnesses. And people are going to protect themselves first. If their lives have been threatened, if they say anything, coming up on people that's come up on the streets, they say, what do they say? Snitches get stitches.
Of course.
And so that's pretty much understood. So I don't know how gangster, whoever did this, if someone did do something to Nolan, I don't know how gangster they are. Without knowing that, I cannot tell you the reason or describe to you the type of person that will remain quiet. Because if the person is gangster, they probably will remain quiet for good reason, because they want to remain alive. But if the person does not have a reputation for being gangster or threatening, I would just think they're inhumane not to say anything.
Yeah, and you might have touched on this already, but what is the biggest red flag that you think people should zero in on that potential foul play could be at work here? Like, what's the thing that's like, this makes no sense to me?
I mean, it's several things. I'm interested to find out whether or not the lungs were waterlogged. I understand when he was found, those that found him said he appeared not to be waterlogged, and which that would tell me that he may not have drowned, because there would be water in his lungs. And then if you examine his lungs, you will also be able to see if it's fresh water, salt water, or what kind of water was in his lungs. And so, interesting enough, the lungs were never provided to the second autopsy specialist or pathologist to review them. I'm also going to be interested in seeing if there was any damage to his throat. The second autopsy, Dr. Mitchell, the pathologist, he didn't get the throat. So the state has that in its possession. So the state is sitting in the catbird seat. They have the portions of his body that will tell you certain things or not. And so the $1 million question: will they ever give those portions of the body to the Dr. Mitchell for him to examine it himself?
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting is that, then the authorities said they were going to be transparent.
They did.
I'm not seeing it. I'm getting more updates from Nolan's family in regards of Ben Crump and how they've been moving about it. Do you think the way that they're handling the case is like the right way, in terms of they're saying we're sticking to protocol? Because in my opinion, this is not like any other cases that have came out of line in recent years. And that I think we need transparency. We need updates, because what it's creating is the effect of assumptions and people with theories. And now you have, if these friends are innocent, they're become victims of this ecosystem you created by not hitting you with the facts right away. Like, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. So any thoughts about how investigators and the local authorities are handling it?
The local authorities could really resolve a lot of the doubts at this point if it just came out and said, we believe this was a drowning. because of AYZ. We've done the autopsy. The lungs came back full of whatever kind of water. There was no strictures to the neck, no damage to the neck or the throat. And they could resolve some of the doubts right there and just tell us what they have found and why, and then allow the family to have access to those same body parts and do their own examination and see if they come with the same conclusion. But to keep everybody in limbo and saying you're doing a confidential investigation, you can't reveal any of the facts until it goes to the grand jury. That's not the way it's normally done. I mean, you could tell certain things to calm down the community if you wanted to. Law enforcement is sitting in the catbird seat, and they could.
Because I would imagine they would have a lot of key evidence by now.
Correct.
With help from the FBI, phone, digital investigations. I'm sure they probably have a good idea what took place. But for whatever reason, they are not disclosing that. Do you think them not disclosing that is because it's either something that we don't want to hear as far as people that are supporting Nolan, or is it because it may incriminate certain people? Why do you think they will hold on to this information?
My personal belief is if it was something that exonerated the so-called fringe, I think they would release it sooner than later.
Right away.
But if it's something that may implicate the so-called fringe of people that they may know, that's the reason to hold it longer than not, because I've seen it time and time again, and you've probably seen it. Law enforcement will release video footage of someone that may have broken somebody's house. They'll ask the public to help them identify certain people. So they release what they want to release when they want to release it. That's part of an investigation. But if it helps them figure out something or whatever, they will release it. And so they could release parts of this if they wanted to at this time, and it would not be anything criminal in nature to do so.
Yeah. Now, if this is a crime, there has to be a potential motive. Typically, that's what there's like a motive. There's a reason why someone did X, Y, Z. From your viewpoint, your personal belief, what will be the motive? Why do you think we no longer have Nolan with us?
There could be several things at play here. It could have been alcohol and drug-induced rage. And sometimes people become a different version of themselves once they have been drinking or intoxicated or ingested certain illegal substances. So something could have happened that people got out of their minds and reacted violently towards Nolan. There's also been other suspicious things around the country. We do know that the Carmelo Anthony situation with Austin Metcalf in Texas was very controversial, and some people believe that this may have been payback for Carmelo killing Austin Metcalf. And so that would be a motive if that line of thinking has to be looked into, because we do know that not only did Nolan come up missing on July the 4th, but there are other people that came up missing around similar timeline and with similar demographics as Nolan. And so we do know that neo-Nazis, neo-Confederates are on the rise in America, and now it's cool again to be openly racist. And that's pretty sad. And so we have to look at all potential motives, not just one or two. It could have been accidental. It could have been something that was local to Horn Island, or it could have been something more sinister that was payback for something that happened in Texas or similar.
Yeah, upon research too, there was an incident where the KKK was passing out flyers in Ocean Springs several years ago. And that was interesting. I don't think it was like too crazy, but to support what you just said about neo-Nazis, those people still exist. They still move around. I don't want to necessarily put it on a particular political party, but a certain political party has gotten certain allegations against them. I do want to point out that Tracy Shepard, have you seen the picture of him with F. Joe Biden t-shirt on and Make America Great Again?
I did see that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was real or AI enhanced or.
I'm going to go with real because I found it very early on, before I think things got really crazy. Yeah. Is there, could that be connected to the storyline or in terms of politics, does politics find itself in a motive area as well? Not putting it on him in particular, but just those dynamics.
I do know, having grown up in Jackson County, is heavily Republican, and especially Ocean Springs, that part of Jackson County is very Republican in nature, and so I would not be surprised if there are a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of MAGA supporters, openly and proudly supporting that type, what I call foolishness, but to each his own. But I don't know that they would have gone so far as to kill someone because they were MAGA. I would believe that if it was an intentional killing, it would be more in line with somebody that may have been going through initiation in one of those neo-Nazi groups or neo-Confederate groups, or trying to get in the KKK to get their first kill or whatever. It's similar to gangs. From what I understand from law enforcement, you have to be initiated some kind of way. And so I would follow that track to see if it had anything to do with initiation into some type of white supremacist group, or did it have anything to do with the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf ordeal out of Texas, or was it just an accident, or was it just someone that got drunk and overreacted violently?
You mentioned the Carmelo Anthony case. Real quickly, did you agree with the outcome as far as the sentencing? Did that seem a bit extreme just from your experience? 35-year
sentence for someone that claimed self-defense who was not the initial aggressor. I think it was overboard. I think that the jury returned a verdict very fast. I believe their minds were already made up. I don't believe there was a person of color, definitely not a black person on the jury. And so it seemed very unfair in a sense. I believe that had the roles been reversed, Carmelo would have received the benefit of the doubt. But I believe this Austin Metcalf was much larger than Carmelo. He was the initial aggressor.
There's a one-time too.
There's a one-time, a one-off. So do I believe that Carmelo may have overreacted? He might have. It may not have been my response to just stab someone with a knife, but you would think a fist fight should have been able to resolve it. But the kids these days, they don't fight fair anymore, but they don't just use their fist, they're using a weapon of some sort. And so I was not there in real time. I don't know if it was a reasonable fear, but if a young, skinny white guy would have said that he was afraid of a big, muscular, heavy set white guy, people would have believed it and probably said he did the right thing to defend himself. So
I think that definitely looking at that situation, everyone lost in that. No one really, there's no real winners. It just did seem a little bit like I was believing more so Carmelo's side because it felt like he did it one time. That might have been an overreaction, but I don't think he was intentionally trying to kill the guy. It was kind of like I told you, get up off me now. And then because when he got arrested, when they at least not arrested, but they apprehended him, he was not sure. He was like, is he okay? He was like, because I could tell, and this was I don't think he's had anything on his record before. So it just made me seem like it was a bad move on his end that turned into a person losing their life. But I don't think it was like an intentional, I'm going to kill you stabbing.
Yeah, it definitely was not premeditated anything. So 35 years seems excessive under the circumstances, especially when I just heard yesterday a guy that was going 100 miles per hour killed two black women going 100 miles per hour. He only got 6 months in jail as his sentence. I mean, 2 black lives gone, and you clearly were way above the speed limit. You had to have known that you had the potential to kill someone driving that fast, and you only get 6 months. And so, but a white guy that did it to 2 black women. So race, it seems to play a large part in the criminal justice system. And a lot of the times we get the book thrown at us and they get a slap on the wrist.
There's, in this case, based off what you said in terms of Nolan Wells, it seems that eyewitnesses will be the biggest asset to figuring out exactly what's happening. Katie seems to be, the young lady, Katie McCormick, seems to be a very important witness to be able to say, hey, where did you last see Nolan go towards last? Like, did you see him get on the boat with his friends? Like, how do you feel about her? Any issue with her not being publicly open? We haven't heard from outside her sister's post. Any concerns with that?
Yeah, she remains a person of interest to me personally. She's very key. She's going to be a star witness because how certain is she that he was going to get on a boat with his friends that he came with? Did anyone else hear him say that? What time did he tell her that? Did she see him physically go towards the boat like he was going to get on? Who did she ride back with? Yeah, she's going to be very key. But what leads me to believe that she's probably more likely to tell the truth than others is that she didn't lawyer up. She's been willing to speak through her sister from the beginning without any one saying that she lawyered up. So if she had something to hide, it seems that she would have lawyered up or not been even allowing her sister to speak. I'm still confused as to why her sister is speaking versus her, but
Yeah.
at least someone is getting her side out there.
I think we want to see her on camera and release at least that portion of what maybe has happened.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some allegations that her father may have been out there on a boat.
I've heard that as well.
And did she ride back with her father? Was her father left out there? I would want to know the exact nature of her relationship with Nolan. Had they just met for the very first time? Did they have any prior history? Had they been fooling around secretly, or was this their first time ever coming into contact with each other? And how did their family feel about it? Either initial thing or something that had been long standing.
Yeah. Have you heard of other cases, familiar cases like this?
Like the Nolan Wells case? The closest thing I've come to learn is of a case here in Georgia where a black woman went to spend the night with some white women. They had a
That's right.
adult pajama party, and I understand that all the white women survived, and the black woman was found dead the next morning, and no one really knows exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So that's the closest thing I've come to find to the Nolan Wells thing, where you had a group of people of various races. Well, there was one black woman and I guess 4 or 5 white women, and no one really knows how she ended up dead the next morning. In this instance, you had several white individuals on an island, and it's not hard to figure out who was there because every person there got there by vote.
Yeah.
And the captain would have to have a list of everyone on the boat, on his or her boat that got out there. So we'll be able to figure out, or the family should be able to figure out, law enforcement should be able to figure out who all was on the island, and they should be able to question each one of them under oath, either via subpoena. They can voluntarily come in, they can be subpoenaed, or taken down to the station. But they should be able to question all of those individuals, and based on their based on their answers and their mannerisms, they should be able to tell who's telling the truth. I know lie detector tests are not admissible in court, but certain people may be willing to take lie detector tests and help us figure out who's telling the truth or not.
Now, one of the things, and this is kind of as we go towards the end of the conversation, it's been great, insightful. Now, one of the things that keep coming up is that there were so many people out there. Somebody had to have seen something. It reminded me, well, it didn't remind me of, but there's a story I came across. This is way back in the day. Story of Lamar Smith. He was a gentleman that was helping African Americans. He was black himself, helping African Americans with absentee ballots back in the day. And he ended up being killed in front of the courthouse while he was doing this help. And it also would turn out that there was at least 30 witnesses, including a sheriff. Would you be surprised if people saw Nolan or something happened to him and they're just not speaking? Like a large amount of people?
I wouldn't be surprised if I knew exactly the reasons they may not be speaking. Back in I guess you're talking about something that maybe happened in the 50s or 60s, when the person was killed right there on the courthouse steps, and I believe in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And it was witnessed by several people, and everyone knew who did. Everyone that witnessed it knew exactly who killed him, but no one was ever brought to justice. In Mississippi, the only thing as bad as being the N-word is being a N lover. And so
Is that in present day?
it's coming back. When I was growing up there, it was not so much, but I believe now in the current climate, it's becoming more prevalent that you do not want to be the N-word or considered the N lover, and it could potentially have some ramifications. You're going to be socially ostracized. And depending on who, if this was foul play, depending on who may have killed or caused or contributed to Nolan's death, people could be concerned about their own safety. And if they say something, they may think that they may be killed themselves.
Yeah. You kind of, you mentioned that makes me think about the fight that happened, and it doesn't seem like there's any conversation around that fight. And to me, it stands out because, according to, I believe, the gentleman Trayston Shepard, that guy, he's like Nolan's black friend. I think he's biracial, and he had his white girlfriend out there, and they were arguing, and a young white man ended up kind of like letting him know, don't talk to her like that. Now, when I look at that, I can't ignore the racial component of it. Are you mad because my girl white? And I'm kind of like, letting her know maybe I'm showing some authority within my relationship a little bit. Did that bother you? Because according to the report that I read, that gentleman wouldn't strike him first, and that's when a fight would break out. And I think there's more than one fight, but this particular fight would take place. So when I see that, I'm like, what would be your motive? What would get you so upset? If I seen a gentleman arguing with his lady, as long as he's not putting hands on her, I'm minding my business personally, because I understand how relationships work. Y'all heated, whatever, y'all stressed out, blase, blase. But like, when I saw that was alarming to me. Any thoughts about that? Like, this person that would start a fight under those conditions?
Yeah, a person that would start a fight under those conditions, if they're mad at you as one biracial or black individual because of something you did, they may be mad at everyone else that looks like you out on the island. So at this point, you're all targets because they're pissed off at this one person. Mm-hmm. And so now they want to send a message to the rest of the black or mixed race people that we still can check you whenever we want to.
Yeah.
And they could have all turned.
And according to Trayston's story, him and Nolan were like with each other like all like the day. So automatically they're associating him. You guys know each other. That's your friend. That's your boy. Mm-hmm. So that made me think more like, okay, if now Nolan is talking to a white girl later, mm-hmm. where's that person that seemingly seemed triggered or bothered by that? Mm-hmm. And I would have to look at it because it was a white guy talking to his white girl. I don't think it's I didn't hear that he hit her. I heard that they were arguing. Mm-hmm. I think that was, in my mind, the trigger was that you were seeing this black young man talk to this white girl with some type of authority, and that might have bothered you if you're saying what is true about Mississippi and interracial relationships still being kind of taboo.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really have to be something negative. Mm-hmm. Emmett Till was killed for something far less. I mean, he allegedly whistled a white woman, something as simple as whistling, and he ended up dead. And so whether you complimenting them, arguing with them, or what, just the fact that you have an audacity to interact with a white woman or a white young lady could trigger certain Mississippians. Yeah. And we're not far removed. These are people that may be the grandchildren of whoever did what they did to Emmett Till. It's not several generations removed. It's only like 2 generations removed. That happened in the 50s. And this was 26 now. So you're talking about a 70-year time period, 2 or 3 generations. And those people, the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Does it bother you, the fact that Mississippi gets that type of light on it? Emmett Till, the racist component, the KKK, because that's home for you. Like, mm-hmm. Does it bother you? Are there beautiful sides of Mississippi that people need to also be aware of?
It used to bother me coming up. I wanted Mississippi to be seen in a new light. I thought that Mississippi had changed. Mm-hmm. But if Mississippi would come after me, having been one of the most powerful black men in the state, what do you think they're going to do with just a common Joe? I mean, I've been president of the National Bar Association, been a judge, been a lawyer, and to have my image tarnished professionally for some things, just for my personal beliefs about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and calling out a justice system that I don't see to be fair or colorblind. Just think about the guys that don't have any power. They left to fight on their own. So my suggestion to people at this point, if you can get out, get out. I am happy here in a new environment, living my life in Mississippi. And it's kind of funny to me that you can call yourself banning somebody from the poorest state in the union. I mean, Mississippi is number 1 in everything bad and number 50 used on everything good. So to be banned from the worst state in the union, it's really no sweat on my back. I'm happy here, married to a physician in Georgia, and we're living our life in one of the greatest states in the union.
Now you, to kind of close out, last couple of things around Nolan, you attended the service.
I did.
Was there something sad, or did any emotions come up just seeing that and being in the midst of that at that time? Like, what did you feel? You know, what you witnessed?
Yeah, it was one of the most heart-wrenching experiences to see his mother and her inconsolable cries at times was heart-wrenching, and to see a father to try to bear all of the burden on his back, on his shoulders, to try to remain strong, but knowing that on the inside is tearing him up as well. I mean, it goes against a natural order of things for a parent to have to bury their child. Nolan should still be here, and not to have the answers to bury your child under suspicious circumstances, not knowing why he's dead. Had he had sickle cell or some kind of incurable disease or something, or illness, they could probably process it differently. But to be perfectly healthy, knowing how to swim, had your whole life ahead of you, excited about football camp about to start in college at Southwest, and to end up dead with nobody knowing anything or saying anything, at least, that has to hurt. And then you know they're probably second guessing themselves to see, did I do the right thing to raise him in Ocean Springs around all these people that we thought were his friends? Should we have stayed in Pascagoula or Moss Point, where it was more minority? Or did we do the right thing to move out into the suburbs and where it was almost lily white? And so I could just imagine the things going through their heads. But all I could do was pray for them. I offer them my condolences personally. But the pain they have to be bearing is, I just can't imagine.
As far as a closing question around Nolan, based off everything that you have acquired, information, perspectives, being someone from Mississippi, everything that you've brought in, are you allowed to express what do you think happened?
Based on what I have heard so far that's been put into the public, I do believe that there was some foul play. I do not believe that he died accidentally or of natural causes. I do believe that if he drowned, it's not because he voluntarily got into a body of water. I do believe that he may have been killed, or he may have been pushed or thrown into the water. What I have not been able to come to grips with right now, what's the exact motive. I think I would need more information to determine the motive, but there's too much smoke around. So I do believe that there's been some fire somewhere, there's been some foul play, and I'm hoping that those responsible will be brought to justice.
Yeah. So moving, and I appreciate that, Mr. Moore. Now we're in Atlanta. Justice for Dads, has that been something you've always been working on?
No, I was inspired to start the Dads for Justice after seeing everything transpire with the Nolan Wells case.
Wow.
I know how much I love my son and my daughter, and I could not imagine something happening to them and not being able to get the answers from law enforcement, not be able to get the transparency I wanted, or not to be able to feel that my child or children's life mattered to the point of a white child or children's a white child's life. And so I believe, just like Nolan's parents want answers, I believe there are other parents around the country and around the world that want them to get the answers they so desperately need. And so I believe there's strength in numbers, and if we can come together as Dads for Justice to not only help pressure those in Jackson County or Mississippi to do the right thing, but there are other cases across the country where law enforcement may not take certain things as serious as they should. We could be there as a resource and advocates for justice for our brothers across the country.
Well, this has been a pleasure speaking with you. I know for a fact that a lot of people have enjoyed your live streams on your Facebook page. I'm guessing probably on Instagram there's some clips, or do you have an Instagram as well?
I do, Judge Carlos Moore.
And I assume people really like your perspective and what you're saying. What is a way that people can support you? And like, I know you practice attorney law. You're an attorney now in Atlanta. What's a way that people can support you and keep up with you?
Yeah, I have. I'm Judge Carlos Moore on Instagram. I'm Judge Carlos Moore on TikTok. I have my Facebook page under my name, Carlos Moore. Instagram. I mean, Twitter, what formerly is known as Twitter, I'm on there as well. X as Esquire Moore. But people can follow me at carlosmorejustice.com. And I'm just out here. I'm a practicing attorney in Tennessee while I reside here in Atlanta. I'm licensed in Tennessee and I take my cases out of Tennessee basically. And I have some Georgia licensed attorneys that help me with Georgia cases. And so we are here practicing and trying to do the right thing one day at a time. But I'm easy to find.
Are you able to become a judge in another state?
I am. I was only banned in Mississippi, but there are 49 other states in the U.S. Supreme Court. I still can be a judge on that.
You ever thought about joining the bench again?
I've thought about it. I'm enjoying my freedom to speak freely now as a former judge. If I was still on the bench in any state, I could not speak so freely as I am now about the Nolan Wells. So I'm enjoying the liberty that I have, but I never say never. I may consider a higher judgeship one day in a particular state or even greater.
Well, with that being said, Mr. Carlos Moore, thank you for your first one-on-one with Hype Plus. We'll see you again.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown and found it informative, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Your support really helps the channel grow, and we truly appreciate you being here. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.